The Ferrari favoritism files. For decades, fans accused the FIA of giving Ferrari preferential treatment, and everyone dismissed it as conspiracy theories from bitter competitors who couldn't accept losing to superior Italian engineering. The allegations seemed ridiculous because Formula One supposedly operated under strict regulations that applied equally to all teams, with independent stewards ensuring fair competition regardless of political connections. But in 2007, the McLaren spy scandal investigation accidentally reveals internal FIA documents that prove Ferrari had been receiving advance notice of regulation changes, getting favorable technical interpretations, and enjoying lenient penalty decisions for years. Race director Charlie Whiting's private emails show detailed discussions about protecting Ferrari's competitive interests, while technical bulletins reveal how certain rules were deliberately written to benefit their car designs. The myth becomes documented fact when journalists discover meeting minutes where FIA officials explicitly discuss maintaining Ferrari's championship viability through strategic rule enforcement and penalty decisions. The Crashgate conspiracy. Everyone laughed when Nelson Piquet Sr. suggested that his son had been ordered to crash deliberately at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, because the idea of manipulating race results through fake accidents seemed too absurd for professional motorsport. The Brazilian's claims appeared to be desperate accusations from an angry father trying to protect his son's reputation after disappointing performances that had led to his dismissal from Renault. Racing journalists dismissed the allegations as typical paddock politics, assuming Piquet Sr. was simply bitter about his son's treatment and looking for excuses to explain away poor results. But 12 months later, Piquet Jr. walks into FIA headquarters with detailed evidence proving the entire Singapore race was manipulated through coordinated team strategy involving predetermined crash timing. The confession reveals that Flavio Briatore and Pat Simons had planned every aspect of the fake accident, including exact corner selection and safety car deployment calculations that would benefit Fernando Alonso's fuel strategy. The McLaren spying network. For years, rival teams whispered that McLaren was stealing technical secrets from competitors, but the accusations seemed like typical Formula One paranoia from teams that couldn't match their engineering excellence and innovative development programs. The British team's consistent competitiveness across multiple regulation changes had been attributed to superior design capabilities rather than any illegal intelligence gathering that would violate sporting regulations. Former employees who suggested McLaren had systematic spying operations were dismissed as disgruntled workers seeking revenge after unsuccessful careers, and the team's reputation for technical innovation made espionage allegations seem unnecessary. But the 2007 investigation reveals that McLaren had been operating the most sophisticated industrial espionage network in motorsport history, with detailed Ferrari technical documents covering everything from aerodynamic developments to engine mapping strategies. The evidence includes 780 pages of stolen Ferrari data that had been integrated into McLaren's car development process for multiple seasons, affecting championship outcomes and competitive balance throughout the mid-2000s. The Schumacher crash plot. Racing fans always suspected that Michael Schumacher deliberately crashed into Damon Hill at the 1994 Australian Grand Prix to secure his first world championship, but the accusations seemed unfair to a driver who had earned success through superior skill. The incident looked like a racing accident to casual observers, and Schumacher's reputation as a clean competitor made intentional collision allegations appear to be British media bias against a German driver dominating their sport. Television commentators who suggested deliberate contact were criticized for making serious accusations without definitive proof, and most racing experts accepted Schumacher's explanation that mechanical problems had caused his car to slide into Hill's Williams. But 20 years later, telemetry data analysis reveals that Schumacher never attempted to steer away from Hill's car, despite having multiple opportunities to avoid contact, and his steering inputs actually increased the collision angle rather than minimizing it. Former Benetton engineers eventually admit that the team had discussed using tactical crashing as a championship strategy, and computer simulations prove Schumacher's car trajectory was physically impossible unless he deliberately aimed for Hill's racing line. The Bernie bribery empire. For decades, people joked that Bernie Ecclestone controlled Formula One through bribery and corruption, but the accusations seemed like typical complaints from people who didn't understand the complex business relationships required to manage international motorsport. His ability to secure favorable deals with race promoters and television networks was attributed to brilliant negotiating skills rather than any illegal financial arrangements that would violate international business laws. Former business partners who suggested systematic corruption were dismissed as bitter competitors who couldn't match Ecclestone's strategic vision, and his transformation of Formula One into a global entertainment phenomenon made bribery allegations seem unnecessary. But court investigations reveal that Ecclestone had been operating a massive corruption network for over 30 years, paying millions in bribes to secure favorable contracts and eliminate competitive threats to his Formula One control. Bank records show systematic payments to government officials, race promoters, and television executives who provided preferential treatment in exchange for substantial financial incentives disguised as consulting fees and marketing partnerships. The Williams War Room team insiders always claimed that Frank Williams operated a military-style intelligence operation that gathered detailed information about competitor strategies, but the allegations seemed like exaggerated stories from employees seeking attention after leaving the team. Williams Racing's consistent competitiveness was attributed to superior engineering and strategic planning rather than any systematic espionage activities that would violate Formula One's sporting regulations and competitive ethics. The team's reputation for technical innovation made spying accusations appear unnecessary, and Frank Williams' personal integrity suggested that such activities would be incompatible with his professional values. But leaked documents reveal that Williams had been operating the most sophisticated competitor intelligence network in Formula One history, with detailed files on every rival team's technical developments, strategic plans, and internal political situations. The operation included professional surveillance experts, former military intelligence officers, and a network of informants throughout the Formula One paddock who provided regular updates on competitor activities. Hotel records show Williams personnel conducting covert meetings with rival team employees, and financial documents prove systematic payments for technical information. The Tyrrell fuel fraud conspiracy theorists always insisted that Ken Tyrrell's team was using illegal fuel additives during their 1984 championship challenge, but the accusations seemed like desperate excuses from competitors who couldn't match their innovative engineering and superior race strategy. The British team's sudden competitiveness was attributed to breakthrough aerodynamic developments rather than any chemical cheating that would violate technical regulations and sporting fairness principles. Racing journalists who investigated fuel composition were dismissed as troublemakers seeking sensational stories, and Tyrrell's reputation for honest competition made systematic cheating allegations appear completely incompatible with their professional values. But post-season technical analysis reveals that Tyrrell had been using illegal fuel additives that provided significant performance advantages throughout the entire 1984 season, affecting championship standings and race results in ways that invalidated competitive balance. The chemical analysis shows sophisticated compounds that enhanced engine power while evading detection through regulatory loopholes that Tyrrell's chemists had discovered and exploited systematically. Laboratory tests proved that their fuel mixture contained banned substances that provided horsepower increases equivalent to major engine development programs. The Lotus team orders. For years, fans suspected that Team Lotus manipulated race results through secret team orders that contradicted their public statements about equal treatment for both drivers during championship battles. The allegations seemed unfair to a team with a reputation for sporting integrity, and Colin Chapman's engineering genius made result manipulation appear unnecessary, given their legitimate competitive advantages over rival constructors. Racing observers who suggested systematic favoritism were criticized for making serious accusations without definitive proof, and Lotus's innovative car designs provided reasonable explanations for any performance differences between drivers during competitive seasons. But internal team documents eventually reveal that Lotus had been operating sophisticated team order systems for over 15 years, with detailed protocols for manipulating race results to benefit their preferred championship candidates through strategic fuel loads, setup compromises, and communication deception. The evidence includes race strategy meetings, where engineers explicitly discuss using slower drivers as mobile chicanes to delay competitors, and radio transcripts prove systematic coordination between team management and drivers who were willing to sacrifice personal results for team political objectives. The Brabham cheating machine. Racing insiders always whispered that Gordon Murray's Brabham team was using illegal technical innovations that violated Formula One regulations, but the accusations seemed like jealous complaints from engineers who couldn't match their creative design solutions and innovative problem-solving approaches. The team's competitive success was attributed to superior aerodynamics and clever interpretation of technical rules rather than any systematic rule violations that would constitute deliberate cheating activities. Former employees who suggested systematic illegality were dismissed as disgruntled workers seeking revenge after unsuccessful careers, and Brabham's reputation for engineering excellence made cheating allegations appear unnecessary given their legitimate technical capabilities. But technical investigations reveal that Brabham had been operating the most sophisticated rule violation network in Formula One history, with illegal systems covering everything from fuel injection to aerodynamic devices that provided massive competitive advantages while evading regulatory detection. The evidence includes detailed engineering drawings for banned technical solutions, and wind tunnel data proves systematic development of illegal aerodynamic components that had been disguised as legal bodywork modifications. The Ligier launch control. For months, competitors accused Ligier of using illegal launch control systems during starts, but the allegations seemed like typical Formula One paranoia from teams that couldn't match their consistent starting performance and strategic race management. The French team's impressive start statistics were attributed to superior clutch calibration and driver technique, rather than any electronic assistance that would violate technical regulations governing driver aids and competitive fairness. Racing journalists who investigated starting procedures were told that Ligier's success reflected better preparation and training, rather than any illegal technology that would provide unfair advantages over competitors. Laboratory examination of their electronic control units reveals hidden software modules that activated launch control systems during race starts while remaining undetectable during standard technical inspections. The McLaren radio cheating. Paddock rumors always suggested that McLaren was using illegal radio communications to provide drivers with real-time technical assistance that violated Formula One regulations about external coaching during races. The accusations seemed like typical conspiracy theories from competitors who couldn't accept that McLaren's drivers were simply better at managing their cars and making strategic decisions under competitive pressure. Racing authorities who investigated communication systems found no obvious evidence of regulatory violations, and McLaren's reputation for professional operations made systematic cheating allegations appear incompatible with their organizational values. The communication records show systematic violation of radio regulations through multiple encrypted channels that provided drivers with information equivalent to having engineering teams in their cockpits during competitive racing. The Ferrari engine conspiracy. For years, rival teams suspected that Ferrari was using illegal engine modifications that provided horsepower advantages beyond what their official technical specifications suggested was theoretically possible. The allegations seemed like desperate excuses from competitors who couldn't match Ferrari's engineering excellence and innovative power unit development programs that had established Italian dominance in Formula One racing. Racing journalists who investigated engine specifications were told that Ferrari's success reflected better engineering and more sophisticated development, rather than any illegal modifications that would violate technical regulations. The technical analysis shows sophisticated programming that detected inspection conditions and automatically adjusted engine parameters to avoid detection while maximizing competitive performance during actual racing situations. The Renault fuel strategy team personnel always claimed that Renault was manipulating fuel consumption calculations to gain strategic advantages, but the accusations seem like typical Formula One politics from competitors seeking explanations for their own strategic failures. The French manufacturer's impressive fuel efficiency was attributed to superior engine design and advanced combustion technology, rather than any systematic data manipulation that would violate technical regulations governing fuel measurement and consumption monitoring. The evidence includes detailed protocols for deceiving race officials about actual fuel usage, and computer analysis proves systematic alteration of consumption data that influenced strategic decisions and race outcomes throughout championship campaigns. The Jordan aerodynamic tricks. Racing insiders always whispered that Eddie Jordan's team was using illegal aerodynamic devices that violated Formula One regulations, but the accusations seemed like jealous complaints from competitors who couldn't match their innovative design solutions. The Irish team's impressive downforce levels were attributed to creative interpretation of technical rules, rather than any systematic violations that would constitute deliberate cheating activities against regulatory limitations. The evidence includes detailed engineering drawings for band aerodynamic solutions that generated significant lap time improvements through systematic rule violations that evaded detection during standard technical examinations. Computer modeling proves that their illegal innovations provided cornering advantages equivalent to fundamental car design improvements. The Sauber software secrets. For months, competitors suspected that Sauber was using illegal software systems that provided driver assistance beyond what Formula One regulations permitted for electronic aids and computer assistance. The allegations seemed like typical paranoia from teams that couldn't explain Sauber's impressive consistency and strategic race management that exceeded their theoretical car performance capabilities. The Swiss team's reliable point scoring was attributed to superior preparation and professional operations, rather than any prohibited electronic assistance that would violate regulations governing driver aids and external assistance during competitive racing. Racing authorities who investigated computer systems found no obvious evidence of regulatory violations, and Sauber's reputation for honest competition made systematic cheating allegations appear incompatible with their organizational values. The code analysis shows detailed programming for different racing situations and track conditions, and telemetry data proves systematic electronic intervention that provided drivers with capabilities equivalent to having computer assistance during competitive racing.